The great doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. All 200 alien representatives turned to look. Nobody had expected visitors today. Captain Hana Kim stepped forward first. She was not tall for a human, but she walked like someone who had seen too much war to be afraid of anything else. Her black uniform was clean but worn at the edges. A long scar ran from her right eye to her jaw, the mark of a battle she had barely survived. Behind her came 4 other humans in similar uniforms. Commander Day Park stood tall and serious, his eyes constantly scanning the room for threats. Tactical, Officer Su Jin walked with a slight limp, her hand never far from the weapon at her side. Science Officer Ji Woo carried a metal case that hummed softly with strange energy. Diplomatic Specialist Tae Ho was the only one who looked somewhat relaxed. Though his smile did not reach his tired eyes, the council chamber was massive. It had been built thousands of years ago when the first 10 species had formed an alliance. Now it held representatives from 200 worlds. The walls were made of a strange material that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. At the center was a platform where the most important council members sat. "Who are they?" whispered a small green alien to its neighbor. "I have never seen this species before." "Humans," replied the taller alien with 4 eyes. "They were not supposed to leave their solar system for another 100 years. They were not ready." Council leader Zeltrax rose from his crystal throne. He was tall and thin with skin that looked like polished silver. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire chamber without needing to be amplified. "Humans of Earth," he said coldly, "you were not invited to this council. Your species is not yet recognized by our alliance. Explain your presence immediately." Hana Kim stepped forward. The light caught the insignia on her uniform, Earth's United Defense Force, with its symbol of a shield behind a star. "Honored Council," she said in a clear voice that carried across the silent room. "I am Captain Hana Kim of Earth. We come seeking alliance." She paused, her eyes scanning the room. "And to warn you of what follows in our wake." Whispers filled the chamber. Many council species had been watching Earth from afar for centuries. Humans were known to be curious, creative, and sometimes violent, but they were also very young. Compared to most spacefaring races, they should not have had the technology to reach this part of the galaxy. "Silence," commanded Zeltrax. He looked down at the small group of humans with suspicion. "What warning could you possibly bring that our sensors have not detected? What threat could follow such a primitive species?" Tae Ho stepped forward and raised a small device. "With your permission, we would like to show you." Zeltrax nodded once. Tae Ho pressed a button and suddenly the air above them filled with light. A 3-dimensional image appeared, showing a blue-green planet that the council recognized as Earth. Then the image changed. It showed the same planet, but surrounded by thousands of ships. As the council watched, beams of energy struck the planet's surface. Entire cities disappeared in flashes of light. The image shifted again, showing human colonies on Mars and other planets in their system being destroyed one by one. The council members watched in silence as the recording showed desperate battles, human ships fighting against strange black vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "This began 50 Earth years ago," said Hana, her voice steady but her eyes filled with old pain. "We call them the Void Collective. They came without warning, without mercy." The image changed again, showing closer views of the enemy ships. Several of the older council members gasped. "Impossible," said a blue-skinned alien with 6 arms. "The Void were destroyed millennia ago. They cannot have returned." "And yet they did," said Commander Day, speaking for the first time. His voice was deep and serious. "First they attacked our outer colonies, then Mars, then Earth itself." Science Officer Ji Woo stepped forward and opened the metal case she carried. Inside was a strange device made of materials that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "This is a piece of their technology," she explained. "We captured it during the Battle of Europa. It took us 20 years to understand even its basic functions." Zeltrax's silver face showed no emotion, but his voice had lost some of its coldness. If what you show us is true, how are you here? The void leave nothing alive. Sujin limped forward. Because humans don't give up easily, she said simply. We fought, we lost, we learned, we fought again. Hana nodded. For 50 years we have fought a war we were never supposed to win. We were not meant to discover faster than light travel for another century. But necessity is a powerful teacher. The images above them changed again, showing human ships evolving, becoming more advanced with each battle. The final images showed the small but powerful fleet that had brought the 5 humans to the Council world, hidden, waiting at the edge of the system. We did not come to ask for your help, said Hana. We came to offer ours. The Void are returning to this part of the galaxy. They remember the Council, and they will show no more mercy to you than they showed to us. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Many council members shouted that this was impossible, that the humans must be lying. Others demanded more proof. Some called for the humans to be removed immediately. Zeltrax raised his hand, and silence fell again. These are serious claims, he said. The council will need to discuss. He was interrupted by a loud alarm. A large screen appeared at the front of the chamber, showing a distant part of the solar system. Strange distortions were appearing at the edge of the council's sensors. What is happening? Demanded Zeltrax. A technician at a control panel looked up, fear in his eyes. Unknown vessels appearing at the edge of the system, Council Leader. Their energy signature doesn't match any known species. The 5 humans exchanged knowing looks. Hana turned back to face the council. We warned you, she said quietly. We didn't come alone. War has followed us here. The alarm grew louder as more distortions appeared on the screen. The council members began to panic. Some ran for the exits. Others shouted orders to their staff. Zeltrax looked at the humans with new eyes. How much time do we have? Not much, said Day. Those are just scout ships for now, but more will come. The council must hear our full story, said Tejo urgently. You need to understand what you're facing. Zeltrax nodded slowly. Very well. You will be taken to secure quarters. The council will convene an emergency session in 3 hours. You will tell us everything. As they were led away, Jiwoo looked back at the screen showing the approaching ships. I hope 3 hours is enough time, she said softly. Hana's face was grim. It will have to be. We've been fighting this war for 50 years. The council has 3 hours to prepare for theirs. Outside the council chamber, the first Void scout ships entered the system, their black hulls absorbing the light of the distant stars as they moved silently toward the council world. The humans were taken to a large room deep inside the council tower. Unlike the grand chamber, this room was plain and functional. A long table sat in the middle, surrounded by chairs of different sizes to fit the many species that might use them. Jiwoo set her metal case on the table and looked around. They're afraid, she said quietly. Hana nodded. They should be. 3 hours later, the door opened. Council leader Zeltrax entered, followed by 12 other council members representing the oldest and most powerful species in the Alliance. The scout ships have stopped just outside our defense perimeter, said Zeltrax without greeting. They have made no move to attack yet. We need to know everything about this enemy. Tejo bowed slightly. Thank you for listening. We will tell you what we know. The aliens took seats at the table. A blue-skinned female with 4 arms spoke first. I am Admiral Jen of the Council Defense Fleet. How did your world first encounter these void beings? Jiwoo pressed a button on her case. A hologram appeared above the table showing Earth's solar system. 52 Earth years ago, she began. We detected strange energy readings near Pluto, one of the outer bodies in our system. Our science teams thought it was a natural phenomenon. We were wrong. The hologram showed a small fleet of black ships appearing near Pluto. They moved slowly at first, studying the human outposts on the distant moons. We sent messages of peace, continued Jiwoo. We were excited to meet alien life. We thought it was a historic moment for humanity. The hologram showed the void ships approaching one of the small human outposts. A bright flash and the outpost was gone. They gave no warning, said Commander Day, his face hard with memory. No demands. They simply destroyed everything they found. Over the next year, said Hana, they methodically attacked every human settlement outside Earth's orbit. Our military was small then. We were not prepared for war. The hologram showed Earth's small fleet of ships trying to defend Mars' colony. The human vessels were primitive compared to Council standards, with simple chemical rockets and basic weapons. They were destroyed easily by the void ships. Mars fell, said Sujin. 6 million people died in one day. A small green council member with large eyes spoke up. How did humanity survive at all? The void are known for their thoroughness. Day tapped the table, and the hologram changed. It showed Earth surrounded by hastily built defense stations. Human ships, larger and better armed than before, patrolled in tight formations. We learned fast, he said simply. We had to. The hologram showed a massive battle. Hundreds of void ships approached Earth. The human defenses fired everything they had. Most void ships passed through unharmed, but a few were damaged. One crashed into the ocean. This was our first real chance, said Ji-woo, pointing to the crashed ship. We recovered pieces of their technology, started to understand how they worked. Hana stood up and walked around the table. The real question is why you don't recognize them immediately. Her eyes were sharp as she looked at the oldest council members. The records we found suggest the void attacked this part of the galaxy before thousands of years ago. The council members looked at each other uneasily. An old alien with gray skin and 6 eyes sighed deeply. Yes, he admitted. The void came once before when the council was young. They nearly destroyed us. The war lasted 300 years. In the end, we believed they had all been killed. You believed wrong, said Sujin bluntly. Why was there no warning in the historical records? Asked Tae-ho. No shared knowledge that might have helped us prepare? The old alien looked down. The council decided it was better to remove those memories from our histories, to prevent fear. The void had not been seen for 6,000 years. We thought they were gone forever. Hana's face showed controlled anger. Your forgetting cost us billions of lives. We offer our deepest regrets, said Zeltrax, but his voice was formal, not truly sorry. Now we must focus on the present threat. How did you develop the technology to reach us? Your species was centuries away from such advancement. Ji-woo changed. The hologram again. It showed humans in laboratories working frantically on pieces of void technology. Necessity, she said. We studied every piece of their ships we could recover. We learned that the void use a form of travel that bends space itself. The hologram showed Earth's cities burning, yet in underground bunkers, human scientists continued to work. Our first faster-than-light ship was crude, said Day. But it worked. We sent it to the nearest star and back. Within 5 years, we had a small fleet that could travel between stars. Impossible, whispered one of the council members. No species has ever developed so quickly without guidance. We had guidance, said Hana coldly. Death was our teacher. The hologram changed again, showing a map of human space. Small dots of light represented colonies on new worlds, hidden from the void. We spread out, explained Sujin. Small groups, keeping radio silence, building new ships, new weapons. And then we found records, said Tae-ho. Ancient human myths that seemed to describe visitors from the stars, stories that matched with star systems where the council species live. Ji-woo nodded. We realized we weren't alone, that there might be others who had fought the void before. It took us years to decode enough of the void communications to learn about the council. So you came here, said Zeltrax, not to seek help, but to offer it. Yet your group is small, and your ships few. Hana's eyes narrowed. We are the advance team. There are more of us, hidden, watching. We needed to be sure the council would listen before we revealed our full strength. A loud alarm suddenly filled the room. A screen on the wall lit up, showing the space around the council world. The void scout ships were moving closer. They're testing your defenses, said Day urgently. Looking for weaknesses. Zeltrax stood, quickly. We must return to the council chamber. Our defense fleet is the strongest in the galaxy. They will handle these scouts. As they left the room, Sujin limped close to Hana. They don't understand, she whispered. Their fleet is big, but they haven't fought the Void. They don't know their tactics. Hana nodded grimly. Then they'll learn the hard way. Just like we did. In the main council chamber, hundreds of representatives watched giant screens showing the council defense fleet moving to intercept the Void scouts. 2,000 ships representing the combined might of 200 worlds. Impressive, said Tae-ho, looking at the fleet. It won't be enough, replied Dae quietly. On the screen, the council fleet formed a perfect defensive pattern, beautiful in its precision. The Void Scouts, only 20 ships, changed formation and accelerated toward them. Admiral Jen stood nearby, directing the defense. They're committing suicide, she said confidently. 20 ships against 2,000. Jin shook her head. No, they're not attacking, they're... Before she could finish, the Void ships suddenly scattered in different directions. The Council fleet's perfect formation broke as ships tried to pursue them. They're gathering information, said Dae urgently. Testing your responses, learning how you fight. On the screen, one of the Void Scouts exploded under Council fire. The others immediately changed tactics, moving in strange patterns that the Council ships struggled to follow. See how they adapt? Said Hana to Zeltrax. This is just the beginning. As they watched, the remaining Void Scouts suddenly accelerated, away, disappearing from the system as quickly as they had come. They'll be back, said Jiwoo softly, and next time, they won't send scouts. Council leader Zeltrax's silver face showed emotion for the first time. Fear. How much time do we have? He asked. Hana looked at the empty screen where the Void ships had been. Days, maybe hours. They never wait long. Then we must prepare, said Zeltrax. The full council will hear your story now. All 200 species must know what comes. As they walked back to the grand chamber, Tae-ho moved close to Hana. Will they listen? Will they believe? Hana's scarred face was grim in the dim light of the corridor. They better, or this will be the last day of their council. The Grand Council chamber was filled with tension. All 200 species had gathered to hear about the Void threat. The humans stood at the center of the room, surrounded by worried alien faces. Hana had just finished telling their story to the full council. Many representatives looked shocked. Some were angry. Others seemed too afraid to speak. A tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms rose from his seat. He wore the bright uniform of the council military. I am Commander Vreen, he announced in a loud voice. I lead the council's combined defense forces. I have heard your warnings, humans, but I think you exaggerate the danger. Hana's face remained calm, but her eyes hardened. Vreen continued. Our fleet has 2,000 of the most advanced ships in the galaxy. We have weapons you humans cannot even imagine. If these Void creatures return, we will destroy them easily. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Many council members seemed relieved by Vreen's confidence. Sujin stepped forward. Her limp was more noticeable as she walked to the center of the room. Commander Vreen, she said, her voice clear, but quiet. May I join your defense coordination center when the Void return? Vreen looked down at her with a mixture of pity and amusement. Why would we need help from a species that has only just discovered space travel? Our strategies have been perfected over thousands of years. Because we have fought the Void for 50 years, Sujin replied simply. And we are still alive. Council leader Zeltrax raised his hand. I believe we should accept the tactical officer's offer of assistance. The humans have experience with this enemy that we lack. Vreen did not look happy, but he nodded stiffly. Very well. She may observe our operations, but she will not interfere with my commands. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the chamber. The large screens on the walls lit up, showing space around the council world. Hundreds of Void ships had appeared where the scouts had been just hours before. They're back, said Dae softly. And this time, they've brought friends. The council chamber erupted in panic. Representatives shouted and pushed to see the screens. Some ran for the exits. Silence, commanded Zeltrax. The room gradually quieted. "Commander Vreen, deploy the fleet." Vreen saluted and hurried from the room, followed by his officers. Sujin glanced at Hana, who nodded once. Sujin followed Vreen to the defense center. On the screens, the council fleet moved into formation. 2,000 ships arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Beautiful, organized, predictable. Ji-woo watched the screens and shook her head slightly. "Their formation is too rigid," she whispered to Day. "The void will tear it apart." The void fleet approached slowly. Their black ships absorbed the light around them, making them look like holes in space. They moved in a seemingly chaotic pattern, constantly changing direction. In the Defense Coordination Center, Sujin stood quietly behind Commander Vreen. She watched as he directed his fleet with confident orders. The other aliens in the room ignored her completely. The battle began. The Council fleet fired first, thousands of energy weapons creating a beautiful web of light. Most of the energy beams missed as the void ships suddenly scattered in all directions. The perfect Council formation began to break apart as ships tried to follow different targets. On the screens in the Council chamber, the representatives watched, in horror as their fleet's formation collapsed into confusion. The void ships, though fewer in number, moved with deadly purpose. They targeted the edges of the Council fleet, destroying dozens of ships in the first few minutes. "What's happening?" asked Zeltrax, watching his mighty fleet falling into disarray. "The Void are using asymmetric tactics," explained Day. "They don't fight like you expect. They don't follow rules or patterns." In the defense center, Sujin watched silently as Commander Vreen shouted increasingly desperate orders. His perfect battle plan was failing rapidly. The Void ship seemed to anticipate every move, countering each new formation before it could fully form. "This is impossible," Vreen shouted. "How do they know our strategies?" Sujin stepped forward. "They've seen them before," she said quietly. "The Void learn and adapt quickly. You need to change your approach." Vreen turned to her, his face twisted with anger and fear. "What would you suggest, human?" "Let me show you," said Sujin, "but I need command authority for one ship." "One ship? Against hundreds?" Vreen laughed bitterly. "What can one ship do, now?" Sujin's scarred face remained serious. "We brought a small corvette with us, the UDF Eclipse. It's hidden in our diplomatic vessel's cargo bay." Vreen stared at her for a moment, then nodded sharply. "Fine. One ship won't make a difference anyway. You have command authority for your vessel." Sujin touched the communication device on her wrist. "Commander Day, deploy the Eclipse." In the council chamber, Day received the message. He nodded to Hana and hurried from the room. On the screens, the battle continued to go badly for the council fleet. Hundreds of ships had already been destroyed. The Void pressed their advantage, surrounding the remaining council vessels. Then a small ship appeared on the screens. It was tiny compared to the council warships, dark gray with blue lights along its hull. The UDF Eclipse. "What is that tiny vessel going to do?" asked a council member with disbelief. "Watch," said Hana simply. The Eclipse accelerated directly, toward the largest group of void ships. As it approached, it suddenly changed course in a way that seemed to defy physics. The void ships fired, but the Eclipse moved in patterns that made it nearly impossible to hit. The human ship weaved between the void vessels, firing precise shots at specific points on their hulls. One by one, void ships began to lose power or drift out of formation. In the defense center, Sujin pointed to the screens. "Your ships are too large and predictable," she explained to Vreen. "The Void expect you to fight with overwhelming force in organized patterns. We fight differently." Vreen watched in amazement as the small human ship continued to disrupt the Void fleet. "How is it doing that? Those maneuvers should tear the ship apart." "Our ships are built to be unpredictable," said Sujin. "We sacrifice power for maneuverability. We don't try to win with better technology. We win by doing what the enemy doesn't expect." On the screens, the Eclipse continued its deadly dance among the void ships. Commander Day piloted the vessel with incredible skill, targeting weak points that only humans had learned to identify after decades of brutal warfare. The balance of the battle began to shift. As the Void Fleet focused on the surprising threat of the eclipse, the remaining Council ships had time to regroup. Following Su Jin's suggestions, Vreen ordered his fleet to abandon their traditional formations and attack in smaller, more flexible groups. In the Council chamber, the representatives watched in amazement as the tide of battle turned. The human ship moved in ways they had never seen before, making maneuvers that their own pilots would never attempt. "It's not about having the most advanced ships," Hana explained to the stunned council members. "It's about being willing to try tactics that seem impossible. For 50 years, we've had no choice but to be creative." The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. The remaining Void ships retreated, jumping away into deep space, but not before releasing dozens of small probes that scattered in all directions. "What are those?" asked Zeltrax, pointing to the probes on the screen. "Information gatherers," said Ji-Woo grimly. "And a message. They're telling us they'll be back with more ships. This was just another test." In the defense center, Commander Vreen approached Su Jin. His earlier pride was gone. "Your ship. It destroyed 37 Void vessels," he said quietly. "My fleet lost over 500 ships to destroy only 23. Su Jin nodded. "The Eclipse is our newest design. Small, fast, and piloted by our best commander." "Why didn't you bring more ships like this?" Vreen asked. "We did," replied Su Jin. "They're hidden throughout this system waiting. But first we needed to show you what we can do. What we can teach you." Vreen was silent for a moment. Then he bowed slightly to Su Jin. "I believe the Council has much to learn from humans, if we survive what comes next." As they returned to the Council chamber, Su Jin's communication device beeped. It was Day, reporting from the Eclipse. "The Void main fleet is gathering," he said, his voice grim. "Long-range sensors detect thousands of ships. They'll be here within days." Su Jin looked at Vreen. "Now the real war begins." The Council chamber was silent. 2 days had passed since the battle. The screens showed the Void probe still moving through the system, watching, gathering information. Beyond them, at the edge of the Council's sensor range, more Void ships were gathering. Zeltrax stood at the center of the chamber. Around him, the representatives of 200 worlds waited for his words. "We face an unprecedented situation," he began. "In all our history, no species has ever been admitted to the Council without centuries of observation and preparation. Yet today, we must consider the immediate inclusion of humanity." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many representatives looked unhappy. Others nodded in agreement. "The humans have brought war to our doorstep," said a tall, thin alien with green skin. "Why should we trust them?" Captain Hana Kim stepped forward. "We did not bring the war. The war was always coming. We simply warned you in time." Science Officer Ji-Woo placed her metal case on the floor. It opened to reveal complex diagrams and devices. "These are our research findings from 50 years of fighting the Void," she said. "Patterns in their attacks, weaknesses in their ships, communication frequencies they use. We offer this knowledge freely." The Council's leading scientists gathered around the case. Their eyes widened as they studied the human research. One of them, a small blue alien with 6 eyes, looked up in surprise. "These approaches, we would never have considered them," he admitted. "Our science follows established patterns that are thousands of years old. These humans found solutions we couldn't even imagine." Commander Vreen stepped forward. "I have reviewed the battle data. The human ship Eclipse destroyed more Void vessels than any 10 of our ships combined. Their tactics were unorthodox, but effective." Hana looked at the gathered council members. Her voice was firm, but tired. "We did not come to beg for help. We came to offer it. Earth has already fallen. Our colonies are scattered. But humanity survives. And with us, the knowledge of how to fight the Void." Taeho moved to stand beside her. "We know that accepting a new species is not a decision the Council makes lightly. We know that our arrival has been sudden and unwelcome. But the Void give us no choice but to stand together." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Many Council Species feared what the humans might bring beyond just the war. Others argued that humanity's rapid advancement made them unpredictable and dangerous. Some pointed out that humans had developed faster than light travel through warfare, not peaceful exploration like most council species. Throughout it all, Tae-ho moved quietly among the representatives. His role as diplomatic specialist had prepared him for this moment. He spoke to each group in turn, answering questions, addressing fears, building connections between traditionally opposed council factions. The Void do not discriminate in their destruction, he told a group of representatives from the Outer Rim worlds. They will come for all of us eventually. To the oldest council members, he said, "Your histories contain the truth about the last Void War. We found fragments of those stories in our own ancient myths. Together we can piece together what worked before." Slowly, hour by hour, the mood in the chamber shifted. Even the most hesitant species began to see that the human warnings were genuine, their offers of help sincere. As the final votes were being prepared, the alarm sounded again. The screen showed hundreds of new void ships entering the system. "They're coming faster than we expected," said D, studying the screens. "They must have hidden reinforcements nearby." Zeltrax raised his hands. "We have no more time for debate. The council must vote now. Do we accept humanity as allies in this war?" The voting happened quickly. Each species entered their decision into the system. The results appeared on a large screen at the center of the chamber. 187 in favor, announced Zeltrax. 13 opposed. The motion passes. He turned to Hana. "Captain Kim, humanity is accepted as a full military ally with specialized status. This is unprecedented, but so are the times we face." The chamber's central platform changed shape. A new section appeared, a seat for the human representative. "Captain Kim, please take your place as humanity's voice on the council," said Zeltrax. Hana hesitated, then walked slowly to the new seat. As she sat down, symbols appeared around her. Earth's flag, and beneath it, the words, "Humanity, Military Ally." Sujin's communication device beeped urgently. She checked it and looked up with alarm. "Long-range sensors detect the main Void fleet entering the system," she announced. "Thousands of ships, more than the Council fleet can handle with conventional tactics." Vreen's face darkened. "How many human ships do you have hidden in this system, Captain Kim?" 52, Hana replied. "Not many, but each one is like the Eclipse, fast, maneuverable, and with crews who have fought the Void for decades." Vreen nodded. "Not enough against thousands, but if they can teach our ships new tactics quickly." "We've prepared for this," said Day. "Our ships are already transmitting new combat protocols to your fleet. If your pilots can adapt quickly, we have a chance." On the screens, the massive Void fleet approached. Their black ships moved in formation now, no longer hiding their tactics. They knew they had the advantage of numbers. Zeltrax turned to Hana. "What do you suggest, Councilmember Kim?" The title felt strange to Hana, but she stood quickly. "We need to combine our forces, not as separate fleets, but as one unified defense. Your ships have the firepower we lack. Our tactics can make that firepower effective against the Void." "Who will command this combined fleet?" asked Vreen. "By council tradition, I have the authority." Hana and Vreen looked at each other for a long moment. Then Vreen surprised everyone. "I yield command to Captain Kim," he said. "She knows this enemy better than anyone in the council." Whispers of shock spread through the chamber. Never in council history had command been given to a newly arrived species. Hana nodded once to Vreen. "Thank you, Commander. I will need you as my second. Your knowledge of the council fleet is essential." Zeltrax raised his hands for silence. "It is decided. Captain Hana Kim will command our combined defense against the Void. May the wisdom of the ancients guide us all." As the council chamber emptied, representatives hurrying to their ships or to safety, Tae-ho approached Hana. "We did it," he said quietly. "The alliance is formed." Hana's face remained serious as she watched the approaching Void fleet on the screens. "The alliance is just the beginning," she said. "Now we have to prove it can work." Day joined them, his eyes on the screens. The Void know we're here. They know humans have joined the Council. That's why they're coming in full force now. Then we'll show them what humans and the Council can do together, said Hana. She turned to her team. Sujin, coordinate our ships with the Council fleet. Jiwoo, work with their engineers to implement your modifications. Tae-ho, keep the Council representatives informed but calm. She looked at the massive Void fleet drawing closer to the Council. World. Day, you and I have a battle to plan. As they left the chamber, the newly forged alliance of humans and the Council prepared to face the greatest threat the galaxy had seen in 6,000 years. The Void were coming in force, and war had arrived at the Galactic Council. The command center was a large room filled with screens and control panels. Captain Hana Kim stood at the central platform, looking at the holographic display of the coming battle. Commander Vreen stood beside her, along with officers from a dozen different Council species. The Void fleet will arrive in 6 hours, said Day, pointing to the display. They have over 3,000 ships. We have less than 1,500 remaining after the last attack. Vreen frowned. The numbers are not in our favor. Numbers rarely are, said Hana. That's why we need to fight smarter, not just harder. Jin limped into the room carrying a datapad. Our 52 ships are in position, she reported. Each one has been paired with 20 Council vessels to form attack groups. Hana nodded. Good. Each human ship will lead its group, teaching. The Council pilots our tactics in real time. On the other side of the command center, Jiwoo worked with Council engineers. They surrounded a Void weapon that had been recovered from the previous battle. Their energy weapons operate on shifting frequencies, Jiwoo explained. That's why your shields can't block them consistently, but we've learned to predict the pattern. The Council engineers looked impressed. One of them, a tall alien with 6 arms, entered new calculations into her computer. If we modify our shield generators with this algorithm, she said, we might be able to block up to 60% of their weapons fire, instead of only 20%. Every ship that can be fitted with the new shields in time should be, ordered Hana. Meanwhile, Tae-ho was in the Council archives. He had been searching through ancient records for 3 days with barely any rest. A small blue alien helped him access the oldest files. There must be something here, Tae-ho muttered. Some record of how the Council defeated the Void 6,000 years ago. The blue archivist pointed to a locked file. This record was sealed by the First Council, she said. It has not been opened since the war ended. Tae-ho looked at her hopefully. Can you open it now? We need all the information we can get. The archivist hesitated, then nodded. In times of greatest need, even the oldest rules must bend. She pressed her 6-fingered hand against the scanner. The file opened. Tae-ho read quickly, his eyes widening. He touched his communication device. Captain Kim, I've found something important. The ancient Council discovered a weakness in the Void communication system. Back in the command center, Hana listened as Tae-ho explained his discovery. When he finished, she turned to Vreen. We need to modify our communication arrays immediately, she said. This frequency might disrupt the Void coordination. Vreen nodded and began giving orders to his officers. The command center became a flurry of activity as the combined human Council forces prepared for battle. 5 hours later, the defense fleet was in position. The 1,500 Council and human ships were arranged in what looked like a chaotic formation. Council military officers, who were not part of the battle, watched with confusion. There is no pattern to this deployment, complained one of them. No structure. How can they fight effectively? That's exactly the point, said Jin, who overheard him. The Void expect patterns. They study them, predict them, exploit them. By appearing chaotic, we become unpredictable. On the main view screen, the Void fleet appeared. 3,000 black ships moved in perfect formation, like a dark cloud approaching the Council world. All ships, prepare for engagement, ordered Hana. Her voice was calm despite the overwhelming odds. Remember your training. Move unpredictably. Target their communication nodes first. The battle began. The Void Fleet advanced in a wall of black ships, their weapons firing in synchronized waves of energy. The Council human fleet scattered in all directions, breaking into smaller groups that attacked from multiple angles. In the command center, Hana and Vreen directed the battle. The screens showed Council ships following the erratic, unpredictable movements of their human counterparts. It looked messy and disorganized, but it was working. The Void couldn't predict where the next attack would come from. "Focus fire on Sector 7, ordered Hana. "Their formation is thinnest there." The combined fleet responded instantly. Dozens of ships converged on the weak point, then scattered again before the Void could counterattack. On a separate screen, Jiwoo monitored the shield modifications. "The new shields are holding at 55% effectiveness," she reported. "It's working." The battle raged for hours. The Council human fleet took heavy losses, but they inflicted even greater damage on the Void. The black ships began to show signs of confusion as their perfect formation broke apart. "Now," said Hana. "Taeho, activate the frequency." In the Council archives, Taeho pressed a button on the ancient device he had discovered. A signal was broadcast from the Council world, directed at the Void Fleet. On the screens, the effect was immediate. The Void ships began to move erratically. Some stopped firing, others crashed into each other. "What's happening?" asked Vreen in amazement. "The frequency disrupts their hive mind," explained Hana. "They can't coordinate properly. This is our chance." She pressed the communication button. "All ships focus fire on their command vessels, the large ones in the rear." The Council human fleet responded immediately. Hundreds of ships converged on the Void command vessels, firing all weapons. One by one, the large Void ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Without their commanders, the Void fleet fell into complete disarray. Their ships began to retreat, some still firing wildly, others simply fleeing. "They're running," shouted one of the Council officers. "We've won." But Hana shook her head. "Not yet. There's one more thing we need to do." She gave new orders to the fleet. The Council and human ships regrouped and began a precise surgical attack on the retreating Void vessels. They didn't try to destroy all the ships. Instead, they targeted engines, weapons, and communication systems. "Why aren't we finishing them?" asked Vreen, confused. "Because total destruction is not the goal," said Hana. "We want to cripple them, not exterminate them. That's what separates us from the Void." The battle ended as the last Void ships jumped away from the system, most of them damaged and unable to fight. The Council world erupted in celebration. News of the victory spread quickly to all 200 member worlds. In the Council chamber, a formal ceremony was held. The 5 humans stood before the full assembly. Zeltrax approached them carrying a small crystal cube. "In recognition of humanity's contribution to our survival," he said formally, "the Galactic Council formally recognizes Earth and all human colonies as full members with immediate effect." He handed the crystal to Hana. As she took it, a new section appeared in the Council chamber. No longer just a single seat, but a full delegation area marked with Earth's symbol. "Captain Hana Kim, you and your team are appointed as humanity's first Council representatives," continued Zeltrax. "Your wisdom and courage have earned you this right." Hana looked at the crystal in her hand, then at her team. They had lost Earth. They had lost billions of lives, but humanity had found something they never expected: allies among the stars. "The Void will return," she said to the Council. "This was just one battle in a long war, but next time we will face them together." As the Council members cheered, Hana and her team took their places in humanity's new section. They had arrived as strangers, with war echoing behind them. They would continue as allies, with hope ahead. The day humanity arrived at the Galactic Council had changed the galaxy forever.